Well, it's May 6th, 2024. I'm here at the University of Victoria, which is located on stolen, unceded lands of, I believe it's the Songhees and Saanich people, Esquimalt, Lekwungen. Not sure where their borders might have been. Looking at the Cunningham building, which is where I remember a protest back in the day. We had platforms up in the trees, thanks to Ingmar Lee and friends, attempting to save the small forest here that was ultimately decimated in summertime. They do it in the summer when the students aren't here, and the students have finally had to leave their platforms and head off for jobs, support the capitalist economy. And now there's, of course, the Cunningham building, which has probably got trapped animals in it, I would guess, or some extension of it will have. I hear there's a lot of animal testing on campus. So just having a moment to reflect on those times before heading into what I believe they're calling now Little Gaza, full of Hamas supporters or something like that. So we're going to go check that out. Okay, now approaching the Free Palestine camp. See, they're setting up a fence perimeter using pallets. I don't know, man. They'll just get kettled in there. It's just a target at that point. But I don't know, they have their own strategy. I'm not going to be the old activist coming in and telling them how to do it. Although we certainly have learned stuff. So I went to the gate at the encampment, and they require masks in order to come inside, so I refused. I'm not going to wear a mask. So I'm just wandering around the outside, looking at all the beautiful signage. There's a lot of Indigenous representation here. It looks like First Nations. And I'm also looking at the area outside the library where there were seeds planted a few years back. Students planted a garden in an effort for food security awareness and such. And of course that was bulldozed under. But they did, I believe, get some communal land on the other side of Mackenzie. And they have a community garden there now, so that's something, I guess. But so far, there doesn't seem to have been any sign of brutality from the police. Of course, when they want the violence, they will send the violence, and then they will report the violence as if it was here all along. I did speak to someone at the gate who provided me with the contact name of someone who would be a spokesperson for the group, but they're not here right now, so I may or may not. I'm just doing this kind of spontaneously, sort of put the fire back in my journalist activism blood this morning to just come here and bear witness. I think I might see some raging grannies. I wonder if there's a rally today. But anyways, it's a beautiful, peaceful, a bunch of tents, a medic tent, a food tent. I doubt if it's vegan. Sadly, I don't know. Didn't ask. Could have. I hate to ask that because I hate getting the answer most of the time. So lots of there's a Mohawk flag. I've got lots of photos that I will post along with this very spontaneous recording. And I'm not to take photos of faces unless I get express permission, which is fair enough. So just signage and some tent photos. All right, well, I had a little chat with the new generation of grannies, it seems like, and they were just visiting the camp to show their support. And as I'm leaving, I chatted with another person. I did ask about the food situation, and yes, they are serving animals, which is very disappointing. But they do have vegan options, which is they should be vegan with no animal options, in my opinion. Nobody should be in a cage. And then as I was leaving, I saw this photographer, because I was very, very strictly told they're not to be taking photos, and they wanted me to wear a pin to identify myself. And here's this photographer from CTV, it turns out, all in black. And so I asked, what is she doing? Is she going to talk to people? And she said, no, not today. They're just here. They come here every day to monitor the camp. So that's what CTV is doing. They're monitoring the camp, and there doesn't seem to be much in the way of yelling out camera as they did when I was wandering the perimeter. So I guess that's why people are wearing masks. I don't know. I wish that we lived in a place where you could just feel free to show your face and be proud of what you're doing. I mean, if they're going to AI you, they're going to AI you regardless of whether they can see your mouth or not. But I don't want to be that old activist, telling people they're doing it wrong. So they're doing what they're doing, and the media's doing what they're doing, and the administration's going to do what they're going to do. But for now, it's just a small group of peaceful people trying to express their concern about genocide. So I've left the camp now and went for a bit of a bike ride and just reflecting on the experience there. It's always brings up stuff from past activism and things I learned. And on my way out, I spoke with a woman who was walking by the camp. She's recently retired and just on her daily walk. And I just asked her, what do you think of all this? And she didn't really know what to say. And so I said, at some point I was able to explain to her that she definitely agreed she was against genocide. She didn't really understand what the point of the camp was. And I said, well, they're asking the university to divest, to remove their investments from the war machine that is fueling the genocide through the U.S. and Israel. Oh, okay, so she got that. And she had no idea, and she didn't know about our pensions being invested in the stock market, in the war machine. And we had a nice chat about the media and how it's all corrupted, and I just can't help but think about that CTV woman, all dressed in black, pointing her camera directly at the camp. They didn't seem to stop her the way that they stopped me, which I find really interesting. And well, they didn't stop me, but they definitely camera, and they wanted me to wear a pin and they wanted to know who I was. But this CTV with her tripod video camera, she was just moving around the camp, and as she said to me, their purpose there is to monitor the camp. I didn't realize the role of the media was surveillance, but things have changed, right? Anyways, so I don't know. I will just have to wait and see what becomes of all this. But in the meantime, I just hope people can remember how severely the media lied to us all through the COVID years, and how they painted us, and how they painted the truckers, and the lies they told, and the ways they manipulated what they saw. And they found one Nazi flag and pretended like that was somehow part of our group and represented all of us. And they do the same thing again and again. And just because some of the media that's covered COVID situation fairly is now taking the side of the Zionist genocide, we can pick and choose, right? I can say, okay, I agree with you on this particular issue, but you've lost me here. This doesn't make sense. I'm going to go seek out some other source who may provide me the story that makes more sense historically, is in line with historical fact and documents of all the many years of savagery of the Israelis upon the people whose land they continue to steal. This is a colonizing entity. They were created and fabricated and planted in the lands of the Palestinian people, the Syrian, the Lebanese people, and it's like a cancerous growth on the landscape. And that's if anybody says anything differently to that, is anybody trying to in any way justify the genocide, forgive, paint this as two sides of a conflict that's evenly matched, that's just bullshit. And you can say like, we're not going to agree on this. We can continue to agree on these other things perhaps, but we don't agree on this particular issue. And I think that's how human nature works, right? I mean, who has friends that they agree 100% with all the time? We agree on some things, we don't agree on others, and that's the way it goes. So please choose your media carefully. And if anybody's trying to push this genocide and paint it as something other than what it is, there's a famine now. I mean, it's all out famine, and they're trying to pretend like, oh, we're trying to get aid in, and the Gazans are the Hamas, and blah. And who is Hamas? Hamas is a government that was democratically elected. We may not like that government, but it has many facets. It had a medical wing until they burned down the hospital, and had, a government like any other government, right? Like our government. It has a military wing. It wasn't a full-blown military with Navy and Air Force and Army, but it had a defense zone. And the founders of this Hamas October 7th rebellion uprising prison break were descendants of the people killed by the Israelis in cold blood in previous situations. Their houses stolen, their families killed. I mean, what else do you expect these people are going to do? I'm not justifying that either, but I'm certainly not going to take the side of the Israelis, and there's nothing that any media can ever say to convince me of that. So this is rambling. I'm rambling now, but I'm just going to go buy my whole food, plant-based bulk products that I stuff into plastic bags that I've reused over and over again, and then ride my bike home. Because I want to be a good citizen on these lands where I live that were also stolen and colonized just a couple of 100 years prior.